I only asked to see my balance. The millionaire smirked, then went silent. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, it is free, and it is the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories like this one. Your support truly means the world to us. And one more thing, where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us go back to our main character. He stands near the end of the line inside a downtown bank branch, the kind with tall glass windows and polished stone floors that echo every footstep. The air smells faintly like printer ink and cold air conditioning. It is just after lunch, and the place is busy with people in pressed suits, leather shoes, and confident voices. Our main character does not look like he belongs here. He wears a faded jacket that has clearly seen too many winters, jeans with a frayed hem, and work boots dulled by years of use. His shoulders are tense, not from fear, but from exhaustion, the kind that settles into your bones after too many long days and too little rest. In his hand is a worn debit card, the edges softened from use. He steps forward when his number is called. Across the counter stands another man, tall, well-groomed, his watch catching the light every time he moves his wrist. The watch alone probably costs more than most people's monthly rent. This man glances at our main character once, quickly, then lets out a quiet, amused breath through his nose. Our main character speaks calmly, his voice low but steady. I only asked to see my balance. The millionaire lets out a short laugh, not loud, not cruel enough to draw attention, just enough to make a point. A smirk spreads across his face as he leans slightly against the counter, clearly entertained. To him, this is a joke. A man dressed like that, asking about a balance. He does not even try to hide his disbelief. The teller hesitates. She looks from the well-dressed man to our main character, unsure where her loyalty should land. Her fingers hover over the keyboard. The millionaire tilts his head and speaks again, his tone dripping with mock politeness. "Go ahead," he says. "It will only take a second. I am curious too." A few people nearby glance over. Not openly, just enough to notice, just enough to judge. Our main character feels it, the weight of their looks, the quiet assumptions forming behind their eyes. He has felt this before, many times, and he has learned something important over the years. You do not always need to explain yourself. You do not need to defend your dignity to people who have already decided who you are. He slides the card forward on the counter, his hands steady. "Please," he says, "just check." The teller finally nods. She takes the card and types. The millionaire is still smiling, and that is where everything is about to change. He keeps his eyes on the counter while the teller works, not because he is afraid to look up, but because he already knows what he would see if he did. Curiosity, judgment, a few quiet smiles that assume they understand his entire life from the condition of his jacket. What they do not see is how close this moment is to breaking everything open. For most of his adult life, he learned how to disappear in plain sight. He learned that people listen less when you look like you have nothing to offer them. That lesson came the hard way, through years of building something no one believed in, through nights spent sleeping in borrowed places, through jobs taken not for pride, but for survival. Just 3 weeks ago, he was not standing in a bank. He was standing outside a hospital, staring at his phone, watching the numbers on the screen drain faster than he thought possible. His sister had been inside, hooked up to machines, her breathing shallow, the doctor's words careful but heavy. The insurance paperwork was a maze. The bills came before the answers. He sold his car that same afternoon. 2 days later, he sold his watch. Not the expensive one people would notice, but the old one he had worn since his first real job, the one that reminded him why he started it all. When people looked at him now, they saw a man who had fallen behind. What they did not see was that he chose this moment, this place, this line. Because today was not about money, it was about truth. The millionaire shifts his weight beside him, clearly bored now, already done with the joke. In his mind, this interaction has ended. He has already decided who matters and who does not. That certainty makes him careless. The teller clears her throat softly as she continues typing. Her screen reflects faintly in the glass partition, but our main character does not try to read it. He does not need to. He remembers the meeting he skipped this morning. The one that would have required a tailored suit and a polished smile. The one where people would have listened carefully to every word he said, not because of its meaning, but because of his title. He chose not to go. He chose to come here instead. Because power, he learned, is best tested when it is quiet. A woman behind him sighs, impatient. Someone further back checks their phone. Time keeps moving forward, unaware that it is seconds away from changing direction. The teller pauses, just for a fraction of a moment. Our main character notices that pause immediately. Her fingers stop hovering over the keyboard. Her posture straightens. Her eyes narrow slightly, not in judgment now, but in focus. Something on the screen has forced her to slow down. The millionaire does not notice. He is still leaning casually against the counter, arms crossed, confidence intact. To him, nothing has changed. Our main character breathes in slowly. He thinks of every time someone laughed first and apologized later. Of every door that opened only after silence proved more powerful than explanation. This is why he asked to check his balance, not to prove he was rich, but to see who would still be standing when the truth appeared. And the room, without realizing it, begins to hold its breath. The teller swallows and glances at the screen again, as if she is making sure her eyes are not playing tricks on her. She adjusts her chair slightly, sitting more upright now, her professional mask slipping just enough to reveal confusion underneath. Our main character notices everything. He notices how her breathing changes, how her hand tightens around the mouse, how she does not speak right away. This is the moment most people miss, the moment before the truth is spoken, the moment when the world pauses, suspended between assumption and reality. He keeps his gaze forward, resting on a small scratch in the marble countertop. He remembers how that scratch got there the last time he came to this branch, years ago, when he still wore pressed shirts and people offered him coffee without asking why he was there. Back then, he thought respect came from being recognized. He learned later that respect comes from being revealed. The millionaire shifts again, growing impatient. He checks his watch, the polished metal catching the overhead lights. His confidence is still intact, but it has begun to thin, like a smile held too long. "Is there a problem?" he asks lightly, though the question carries a sharp edge now. The teller hesitates. She opens her mouth, then closes it. Her eyes flick toward our main character, then back to the screen. She is no longer deciding what is polite. She is deciding what is correct. "I just need a moment," she says carefully. The words land differently than before. A few heads turn. The quiet murmur of the bank seems to lower, as if the building itself senses something unusual unfolding at one of its counters. Our main character exhales slowly through his nose. He feels no rush, no triumph, only a familiar calm, the kind that comes when you have already accepted every possible outcome. He thinks of the call he ignored earlier, the one from a private number he knew by heart. The board could wait. They always did when he asked. Today, he wanted to see something else. He wanted to see who people became when no one thought he mattered. The teller's fingers move again, slower now, deliberate. She scrolls. She clicks. She reads carefully, line by line. Her eyebrows lift, just slightly, before she forces them back down. The millionaire leans forward, curiosity finally replacing amusement. "What is taking so long?" he asks, no longer smiling. The teller does not answer right away. Instead, she turns the screen just enough to confirm what she already knows. The numbers are not a mistake. The account name is not a coincidence. The symbols beside the balance are very real. Our main character feels the shift in the air. It is subtle, but unmistakable, like pressure building before a storm. He does not look at the screen. He does not need to. He has seen those numbers before. He has signed documents larger than this bank branch. He has sat in rooms where decisions like this shaped entire cities. But none of that mattered right now. What mattered was the silence. The teller finally clears her throat again, this time louder. Her voice, when it comes, is different, lower, measured, respectful in a way it was not before. "Sir," she says, addressing our main character directly now, "could you please confirm your identification?" The word "sir" hangs in the air. The millionaire freezes, just for a second, just long enough, and in that second, the balance of the room begins to tilt. The teller reaches out her hand, waiting, not rushing him, not avoiding his eyes either. The shift is subtle, but it is unmistakable now. Our main character reaches into his jacket and pulls out his identification. It is clean, simple, and unremarkable. No gold edges, no special casing. Just a card that has been handled many times, like someone who does not need to flash it often. He slides it across the counter. The teller takes it carefully, her fingers brushing the edge, as if she suddenly understands that this moment matters more than routine. She types again, slower than before, double-checking every field. The millionaire lets out a short breath, half annoyed, half uneasy. "This is getting ridiculous," he says, forcing a laugh that does not quite land. It is just a balance check. No one laughs with him this time. Our main character says nothing. He keeps his hands folded loosely in front of him, posture relaxed. He has no need to rush the truth. It always arrives on its own schedule. The teller's eyes widen again, just a fraction. Then she straightens fully in her chair, her shoulders square. Her voice, when she speaks, is no longer tentative. "Thank you for your patience, sir," she says, still looking at the screen. "I just need to verify one more detail." The word "sir" lands again, heavier this time. The millionaire's jaw tightens. He glances around, suddenly aware that more people are watching now. The casual confidence he carried into the bank has started to crack, replaced by something closer to discomfort. "What detail?" he asks, sharper than before. The teller finally looks up at him. "I was not speaking to you," she says calmly. Silence spreads outward from the counter, like a ripple across still water. Our main character meets the teller's eyes briefly, and gives a small nod. Not gratitude, not approval, just acknowledgement. She returns her attention to the screen and continues. The people in line shift their weight. The woman who sighed earlier now watches closely. A man near the door stops pretending to read his phone. No one speaks. This is the test, not of wealth, but of character. The millionaire clears his throat, suddenly unsure where to place himself. He steps back half a pace, as if space might restore his authority. "Look," he says, lowering his voice, trying a different approach. "There is no need to make this a scene." Our main character finally turns his head. "There is no scene," he says quietly. "There is just a process." The words are simple, measured, impossible to argue with. The teller finishes typing and presses enter. Her face changes, not dramatically, not with shock or excitement, but with certainty. She looks at the screen one last time, then back at our main character. "Yes," she says, steady now. "Everything is confirmed." The millionaire's smile disappears completely. "What is confirmed?" he asks, though part of him already knows he does not want the answer. The teller turns the screen slightly, not for the line, not for the room, but just enough that the man beside the counter can see what he laughed at only minutes earlier. The numbers fill the display. They do not blink. They do not explain themselves. They do not need to. The millionaire stares. His mouth opens, then closes. The bank does not feel loud anymore. It feels too quiet. And in that quiet, the balance has already spoken. The screen remains angled just enough to exist, but not enough to explain itself. The teller does not read the balance out loud. She does not even react right away. For a brief moment, it looks as though she is simply rereading the same line, making sure she did not misunderstand what she is seeing. Her shoulders straighten slightly. Her hand, resting on the mouse, stops moving. The millionaire leans closer, curiosity slowly replacing amusement. His eyes move quickly across the screen at first, then slower, as if slowing down might soften what is there. It does not. The confident smirk he carried into the bank fades, not in shock, not in disbelief, but in something quieter, recognition. The room grows still, not dramatically, not all at once, just enough that the air feels heavier than before. Then a sound cuts through it. A sharp metallic clink echoes against the marble floor. The millionaire looks down. His car keys have slipped from his hand. For a second, he does not move. He stares at them as if they belong to someone else, as if bending down to pick them up would require more certainty than he has left. No one laughs. No one reacts. The sound lingers far longer than it should. Somewhere behind them, a voice escapes without permission. "Oh, my God." The teller inhales slowly, steadying herself. When she speaks, her voice is different now, lower, measured. "Sir," she says, addressing the man in the worn jacket, "your account is verified." The word "sir" lands like a quiet correction to everything that came before it. Our main character does not look at the screen. He does not look at the keys on the floor. He keeps his gaze forward, calm, unchanged. "I only needed to check my balance," he says softly. There is no challenge in his voice, no satisfaction, just truth. The millionaire finally crouches down and picks up his keys. When he stands again, his posture has shifted. The ease he once wore so comfortably does not return with him. The teller turns the screen back toward herself. The moment has passed, but the silence it left behind has not. Our main character steps outside the bank and pauses just beyond the glass doors. The noise of the street rushes back in, engines passing, voices overlapping, life continuing as if nothing extraordinary has just happened inside. He takes a slow breath. For a moment, he stands there, letting the cool air settle against his face. This was never meant to be a performance. He did not come to embarrass anyone. He came because he needed to know something important. Inside the bank, the teller remains still for a few seconds after he leaves. She watches the doors close behind him, then looks back at her screen. The balance is still there. The account name is still there. Nothing about it has changed. Everything else has. She glances toward the millionaire, who is now staring at the counter as if it might offer him an explanation. His shoulders are stiff. The ease he walked in with is gone, replaced by a quiet tension that he cannot shake. "I will assist the next customer," the teller says gently, breaking the silence. The millionaire does not move. She repeats herself, a little louder this time. That is when he finally blinks and steps aside, clearing space he once claimed without thinking. The line begins to move again, but the mood has shifted. People no longer glance at the counter with boredom. They glance with curiosity, with questions they will not ask out loud. Outside, our main character walks down the sidewalk, blending back into the city. A few people pass him without a second look. Others glance briefly, then look away. No one knows what just happened inside that bank, and that is exactly how he prefers it. His phone vibrates in his pocket. He stops near a crosswalk and pulls it out. The missed call from earlier is still there, along with several new messages, names that carry weight, decisions waiting for his approval. He does not open them yet. He looks up instead, watching the light change, listening to the city breathe. This was the real test, not the balance, not the number, but the moment before the reveal. The way people acted when they believed he had nothing. The way their tone changed when they realized they were wrong. He learned something valuable today, not about money, about people. Inside the bank, the millionaire finally approaches the counter again, his confidence now replaced by caution. He lowers his voice, leaning in slightly. "Is that account?" he begins, then stops himself. The teller meets his eyes, professional but firm. "I cannot discuss another customer's information," she says. He nods, embarrassed, and steps back once more. For the first time, he understands how small laughter can feel when it is misplaced. Our main character reaches the corner and waits for the signal to cross. He slips his phone back into his pocket without responding to any messages. There will be time for meetings. There will be time for suits and boardrooms and titles. But today, he chose something else. He chose to walk in quietly. He chose to ask a simple question. And he chose to leave with an answer far more valuable than any number on a screen. As the light changes and he steps forward into the crowd, the bank behind him returns to its routine. Transactions continue, screens flicker, conversations resume. But for a few people inside, the memory will linger. A reminder that the loudest confidence is often borrowed, and the most powerful truths arrive without making a sound. Inside the bank, the moment does not end when our main character leaves. It stretches. The millionaire stands a few steps away from the counter, pretending to scroll through his phone, but his screen remains dark. His reflection stares back at him from the glass, unfamiliar now. He replays the scene in his head, over and over, searching for the point where things went wrong. He does not find it, because the truth is uncomfortable. Nothing went wrong at all. He was simply wrong. The laughter that once felt effortless now feels reckless. He remembers the way he leaned against the counter, the way he assumed control without earning it, the way he believed the world would agree with him simply because it usually did. It did not this time. The teller finishes assisting another customer and looks up. Her expression is neutral, professional, but there is a boundary there now that did not exist before. "Is there anything else I can help you with?" she asks. The question is polite, distant, final. The millionaire hesitates, then shakes his head. "No," he says quietly. "That will be all." He turns and walks toward the exit, his steps slower than when he arrived. Each one feels heavier, as if the polished floor beneath him has lost some of its shine. Outside, he stops under the awning and exhales sharply. The city greets him the same way it always has, indifferent to his discomfort. People pass him without recognition, without interest. For the first time in a long while, he feels invisible. Across town, our main character continues walking, his pace unhurried. He stops at a small coffee shop on the corner, orders a plain black coffee, and pays in cash. The barista smiles at him without judgment, without expectation. "Have a good day," she says. "You too," he replies. He takes the cup and steps aside, watching the steam rise. Simple moments like this matter to him. They always have. He sits at a small table near the window and finally checks his phone. Messages flood the screen. Questions, updates, requests for direction. The world that waits for him is not gone anywhere. He reads them slowly, then he closes the app. Because there is one message he has not opened yet. One number he has not called back. He stares at it for a long moment before pressing dial. On the other end, the voice answers almost immediately. "Did you see it?" the voice asks. "Yes," our main character says. "I saw everything." A pause. "And?" the voice continues. He looks out the window, watching people walk by, each carrying a story no one else can see. "And now we know," he says. The call ends shortly after. Back at the bank, the teller logs out of her system at the end of her shift. She gathers her things and pauses for a moment, thinking about the man who asked a simple question and walked away without asking for anything else. She realizes something then. Not everyone who has power needs to use it. Not everyone who could demand respect chooses to. That realization stays with her as she turns off the lights and leaves the building. Meanwhile, the millionaire drives away, his thoughts louder than the traffic around him. He grips the steering wheel tighter than necessary, replaying a single word in his mind. Assumptions. It echoes longer than he expects. And somewhere between the bank and the next red light, he understands something he never learned from wealth. Some lessons cost nothing, but they change everything. Later that afternoon, our main character sits alone at the small table in the coffee shop, the cup now empty, the noise around him fading into a low, comfortable hum. He has finally returned the missed calls, not with urgency, but with intention. Across the city, in a glass office overlooking the river, a quiet meeting begins without fanfare. There is no long table, no dramatic entrance, just a few people who know exactly why they are there. Our main character speaks calmly, his voice steady as he recounts what happened at the bank. He does not exaggerate. He does not name the millionaire. He does not need to. He describes the laughter, the hesitation, the moment the tone changed. The room remains silent as he finishes. Finally, one of them nods. "So, what do you want to do?" someone asks. Our main character leans back slightly, thinking not of numbers or accounts, but of faces. The teller who corrected herself, the people in line who watched quietly, the millionaire who learned too late. "There is an opening," he says, "at the foundation." Another person looks up. For who? For someone who treats people correctly before they know who they are dealing with. No one argues. The decision is made quickly, not because it is impulsive, but because it feels right. The next morning, the teller arrives at the bank as usual, unaware that her life is about to shift direction. She goes through her routine, logs in, pours her coffee, and begins assisting customers with the same professionalism she always has. Mid-morning, her manager asks her to step into the office. She feels a familiar tension rise in her chest. Questions race through her mind. Did she do something wrong? Did yesterday cause trouble? Inside the office, a woman she does not recognize is waiting, well-dressed, composed, and smiling gently. The woman introduces herself and explains why she is there. She does not mention balances or accounts. She talks about integrity, about observation, about opportunities that come from doing the right thing when no one is watching. The teller listens, stunned. An offer is placed on the desk, not a reward, an invitation. Across town, the millionaire sits in his own office, staring out at the city. He has not been able to shake the feeling since the bank. Meetings feel hollow, compliments feel undeserved. He receives a message from an associate about a partnership opportunity that has quietly disappeared. No explanation, just a polite notice that priorities have changed. He knows why, and for the first time, he does not argue. He closes his laptop and leans back, replaying the words spoken to him. It is about assumptions. Back at the coffee shop, our main character stands to leave. He places a few bills on the table and nods to the barista, who smiles again without knowing why today feels lighter. Outside, the sun is higher now. The city looks the same, but it feels different. He did not come to the bank to teach a lesson, but a lesson was learned, not through humiliation, through clarity. Sometimes the greatest power is not revealing who you are. It is choosing what you do with the truth once everyone else finally sees it. The story does not end with applause. It ends the way most real moments do, quietly. Days later, the bank looks exactly the same. People line up, screens glow, conversations blend into one another. To anyone walking past the glass doors, it is just another building on another street. But inside, something unseen remains. The teller notices it every time she hesitates before making an assumption, every time she slows down instead of rushing to judgment. She never mentions the man or the moment, but it has changed the way she looks at people. The man who laughed carries it differently. He remembers it in the pause before his jokes, in the hesitation before his confidence takes over. The memory does not embarrass him anymore. It corrects him, and the man who asked the question carries nothing at all. He sits in his car at a red light, hands resting loosely on the steering wheel, watching the city move around him. Pedestrians cross. A bus exhales at the corner. Somewhere nearby, someone laughs. His phone vibrates on the seat beside him. Messages wait. Meetings. Decisions. A world that expects him to speak. He lets the phone ring. He thinks about how quickly people decide who matters. How easily laughter replaces listening. How often silence is mistaken for weakness. The light changes. He drives on, blending back into traffic, indistinguishable from everyone else. Because sometimes, the most dangerous thing you can do is laugh at the wrong person. And sometimes, the strongest power in the room is the one that never needs to prove it was there.